What's going on? My name's Dane. Welcome to today's video where we're hanging out in my grandma's garage. Let me show you what we got going on. Okay, and if you're new to the channel, this is my 1973 Chevy C30 dually that we are going to be doing a Cummins 12-valve swap in with an NV 4500 transmission. In previous videos, me and my brother tore apart a donor truck and got the engine and transmission out of it. And in the last video, me and my brother resealed most of this engine and did a few upgrades. We're still waiting for a few more parts to come in to get this thing completely buttoned up, but it's almost ready to go in the truck. And I was holding off tearing the engine and transmission out of this truck because I needed it to transport this engine. I do have another truck, but it's lifted, and the problem is this cherry picker only goes so high, and this truck just happens to be the perfect height to get this engine in and out of. And off camera, I did clean up the transmission. I repainted it, not the tail housing or the bell housing. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it used to be. So today, I'm going to be focusing on pressure washing the engine bay of this thing, just getting it all cleaned and prepped, and see how far we can get into tearing this thing apart. So I got her all cleaned up, and there honestly wasn't a whole lot of grime and buildup on this thing just because this truck has such low miles on it. And I will say, I am sad to tear this truck apart. I put about 500 miles on this truck since I've owned it, and it's fired up for me every time. It's been reliable. It's got me where I needed to go. And this setup will be missed. It is sad to tear apart an original truck like this, but unfortunately, I just really want this 12 valve in here. So here we go. Got the engine and transmission pulled all by myself. Probably wasn't the most graceful thing you've ever seen in your life, but we got the job done. And I took some pictures of it, threw it up on Facebook Marketplace, so hopefully someone comes and buys it soon. Now, when I started to disassemble the truck, instead of taking everything off piece by piece, I decided to pull the whole front clip. The problem was this was a lot heavier than I anticipated, so I ended up having to use the hoist to assist with getting it off. But in the future, it's probably a two-person job. Coming over here, as you can see, we got everything out. I did go ahead and order some new core support bushings because they're pretty blown out. And over here, I was messing with this for a little bit. So I ended up doing some research and I found this adapter right here that's gonna basically adapt the high pressure line off that 97 Dodge power steering pump on the Cummins 12 valve to this 1973 Chevy gearbox here, or steering box. So hopefully once I get everything tightened down, there's no leaks. Here's the part number for that guy, if you are interested. And the next step is to put some mounts on the engine itself. I got these off of Summit, and then I went to my O'Reilly store near me, and I got some Power Torques here. So I figured it'd probably be best just to replace those while we're at it. Here's the old ones, here's the new ones. These were about $250, and then these were like $12.99 per piece, so pretty cheap. But hopefully we can at least get the engine sitting in the truck and make it look like we're making some progress finally. The negative battery cable also connects right here, so I went ahead and took off some of this paint or powder coating on the front and the back and made sure this was bare metal so we had a good ground. Now that we got these mounts off, based on what I've seen online, everyone else that's done this swap, they said to fill up these engine mounts with some silicone to help with vibration. So that's what we're going to do right now. So these mounts didn't come with any direction at all, and from what I saw online, it looked like people had them facing forward. But as you can tell, we got a ways to go before that's lined up, and we're already getting close to the firewall back here. So I think I got to flip these mounts and see if we can get this thing mounted in here. So we've encountered our next problem. We seem to be having a clearance issue while trying to get the back of the engine underneath the firewall, as well as having these mounts high enough to kind of come up and over and slide into place. So I think what we're gonna have to do is unbolt these, bolt them to the mounts, and then slide the engine in, and then bolt these back down. So we got everything kind of bolted up. We got the jack down there supporting the back of the engine. I'm making a few mistakes as I go. I know this is a pretty common swap, but hey, it's the first time I'm doing it, and I'm just some guy in my grandma's garage. So what are you doing watching this video? And on to our next problem. This balancer will not clear right here, so we're gonna have to notch this guy to make room for this. Ended up cutting out this piece that's shaped like a banana, and it didn't turn out that bad. Could have been a lot worse, I'll tell you that much. And now on to the next problem that we need to solve. So we need to tear out the interior to make room for the taller NV4500 transmission. Now I saw online people were saying in these older square bodies, the trans tunnel, there's like a hump that bolts in, and you can buy the 4-wheel drive hump that has a little bit more clearance for a taller manual transmission. However, after looking under this truck, it does not appear that this was one of the trucks where it had a trans tunnel hump that bolts in and out. So I'm gonna have to probably cut a big hole in this floor, and later down the road my brother's gonna have to weld up a trans tunnel. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, got the interior removed. That was pretty quick and easy. 4 bolts for the seat, and just these trim pieces along the side, and then that liner just came straight out. As you can see, we got a little bit of surface rust here. It looks like some water must have got kind of trapped underneath the liner and the floor pan here, but none of it appears to be through. It still feels pretty solid, which I'm very happy about. The other side doesn't look too bad. So now we just have to cut a massive hole right here. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this hole probably isn't big enough based on the last experience I had cutting out a trans tunnel to fit a manual transmission. But I guess we got to start somewhere, so we'll see if we can get the transmission kind of mocked up and into place and see if we have to do any additional cutting. So I ended up staying up pretty late last night and had to make a few more cuts. So I had to remove this piece and this piece. But as you can see, we got the transmission all bolted up. I didn't bother to film any of it. It was getting pretty late, and I was pretty focused on wrestling that transmission, trying to get it bolted in. But we got it done, and now today, I am going to be working on mounting this clutch pedal. So instead of trying to make one and fabricate one, I bought this one off Summit, and hopefully it just bolts up for the most part. I know I got to drill a hole in the firewall for the master and kind of reinforce it, but hopefully I can get that mounted today. So that was a bit of work getting the stock pedal assembly out of here. Here is the clutch pedal mount, or box, I guess, that the kit comes with. And we have to weld. So we have to plug weld these 4 holes and stitch weld around the outside. So I'm going to clean this up. And I don't know how to weld, but I borrowed a welder from my brother. So today we are going to learn. Well, that went just about as horrible as you would expect. To top it all off, I forgot to grab a welding hood or helmet from my brother. So I was learning to weld basically with my eyes closed. The good news is we got good penetration. I know it's not going anywhere. Thank God no one's ever going to see this up under the truck unless they go take it apart. And if they do, if you've ever looked at someone's welds on a vehicle or a building or something and said, "Who the hell welded that?" Well, now you know. It's guys like me. So on to the next step. The brake pedal is too wide to fit, with the clutch pedal being right next to it. The kit does come with this replacement part to weld to that arm. But with as bad as my welds just went, I might just cut this with the grinder to see if we can get the same shape. And then save me a little bit of work and having to weld back onto that, because I don't think it's going to go very well. Off camera, I did just cut down the stock brake pedal instead of cutting it completely off and re-welding this one on that the kit gives you. So now we need to get the brake pedal and the clutch pedal mounted back in the truck. And then here's the master cylinder that I'm going to be using. So we have to notch a hole in the firewall, but it's got to be square so it can fit this guy, so this can turn and kind of lock into place the way it's designed to. Got the pedals mounted back up in here, and then it might be kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in. Where are we at here? So that little hole right there where the light's coming through, I just drilled a pilot hole that I thought would mount or line up best. Let's see if I can get it in the shot with that guy right there sticking out. So that's what the master is going to attach to. So hopefully that's close enough. So I didn't end up filming the rest of the install for the master cylinder, but as you can see, we finally got it in here. So it took me quite a bit of time to get it to where I was happy with it. This firewall isn't exactly straight. It kind of curves in right here. So I had to kind of pound it out, and then I reinforced it because it's where 2 different panels meet. So I stitch welded it back behind there and then just made sure it was completely flat and perfect. And then I hit it with a little bit of Flex Seal down there that you can barely tell. It kind of looks factory almost. But like I explained earlier, this master cylinder basically is only held in by these 4 corners, and it's just plastic. And I think that works great for the stock truck. But for this swap, I wanted to have that peace of mind knowing that it's not going anywhere. And as you can see here, so I believe it was 1998 and a half. They switched the design of this to where it has this piece here with these studs, and then you bolt it through the back of the firewall and it kind of sandwiches it in place. So I decided to kind of mimic that design. I got this bracket off of the other master cylinder that came off the donor truck, and it's on the other end that mounts to the transmission down there. And what I did was I just made 2 cuts right there so it'd slide over, and then I drilled 2 holes in the firewall, and then I bolted it from the backside. So now, not only is it locked into place by these 4 corners, it's also held in by that bracket there. And this thing's pretty solid, so I really hope it's not going anywhere. And so the clutch is now done. I'll now demonstrate. That sucker's smooth. And I forgot to mention it earlier, but when I threw the transmission in there, I did throw a new seal on the back. And then with the South Bend clutch kit, it comes with a new throwout bearing. It replaces this piece and it tells you to remove this washer. So I did all that earlier. In other news, I did get the engine and transmission sold. The guy came and paid for it, and he's going to come pick it up later today, hopefully. All right, so we still got a lot left to do on this truck, but I'm pretty happy with the progress we made in the last few days or so. But anyways, guys, if you made it this far in the video, I'd just like to say thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.